Come on back in. Don't go to sleep. Don't order anything on the little board next door, the little phone, whatever you're ordering, snacks. Don't do that. Pay attention. Come on in, gentlemen, at 2 North. If you got a bond hearing, come on into the booth. Let's go. Come on in here and have a seat. Come on in, gentlemen. Come on in and have a seat. Get through this as quickly as possible. 2 North. There you go. Shut that door behind you. All right. Come on in, gentlemen. Have a seat. Have a seat. All right. We got Mr. Cho here, so we could go ahead and we got Miss Claudia. Do we know anybody that's going to need the services of the interpreter tonight?
Yes, Ms. Farazi, her client needed the services of the interpreter, and I confirmed with her.
Okay. Which client is that?
It's Mr. Gomez.
Okay. Let's see. Da.
Position 21.
Okay. All right.
And
Gotcha.
I will be covering for her today, Your Honor, for that case.
Okay. All right. I got you. All right, everybody. We'll go ahead and start with Cobb since the deputy made a trip up there. Gentlemen, pay attention. This is what I like to call a you problem. Everything I say today is about you, not about anybody else. You need to take note. This is going to tell you what your bond is, what conditions you have with bond, or anything else of that nature. Don't depend on your mother, your grandmother, your dad, your brother, your sister. Needs to be you. Your lawyer's going to mail you copies of your bond orders after they finish today. If you bond out and don't get a copy of your bond order, if I were you, I would get back in touch with them when I get out and say, please mail me a copy of my bond order. That has conditions, things you're not going to be able to do. Come on in, booth 1, 1 North, booth 4. Come on in. Have a seat. All right. So just pay attention, gentlemen. We'll get you in and out as quickly as possible. There'll be numbers to go with each count, and also there'll be conditions. Some of you will have an ankle monitor with a 24-hour curfew. Some of you you'll be told to stay out of Fulton County. Some of you will be told to stay out of the state of Georgia. I don't know. Depends on where you live. Right now, we're going to start with Calvin Carter. Wave your hand when I call you. Best you can do. There you go, Mr. Carter. All right, Mr. Cho, we got everybody on here. This is 22 CP 212-291 Calvin Carter, 212 days without indictment. There's an $8,000 good bond as of December the 1st. Terroristic threats and acts and simple battery. 212 days without indictment. Preach, Rob.
Yes, ma'am. I'm here filling in for Ms. Bostic till she gets here.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so what I have for Mr. Carter, last arrest was 11/22, had a failure to register out of Fulton County. Have a, sorry, this date is April 17, also same offense, failure to register, Fulton County. Have April of 14, probation violation, 2 counts, 3 counts, 4 counts of probation violation. That's also out of Fulton County. I have October 2007. Just not guilty on that, Your Honor. July 2005, theft by shoplifting. Not sure if that's felony or misdemeanor, but that was a conviction. And I have a May 2003, theft by shoplifting, 2 counts, conviction. Not sure if that's felony or misdemeanor on that one, Your Honor.
All right. All right, gentlemen, come on, stay in your booths. Don't walk out. Don't put your head down. Don't twist your hair. Don't try to braid your hair. Don't comb your hair. Don't mess your zit. Stay where you at. Go ahead, Mr. Cho.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe the court heard this case for the probable cause hearing. It does say Judge Manning in Odyssey. Your Honor, if you recall, this is an allegation of alleged spitting, and a fight broke out. One of the even the warrant says, I'll say it like this, even the warrant says that One of the individuals who is listed possibly as a victim left the scene and did join in a physical altercation against my client. And the warrant indicates that he was injured. I believe it was a scratch above the eye. And Judge, I don't think that individual later showed up to a lineup, if I'm not mistaken, for this case. So another one of the individuals in this situation ended up showing up for the lineup or identification later, is my recollection. Long and short, Judge, while there were some possibly or allegedly inopportune words that were exchanged, it does look like there was mutual combat in this case and that there were injuries, and my client being one of the injured. But Kenneth Collins, who did it shows attacking Mr. Collins, that's the wording used in the warrant, was not on scene, as I stated, and I believe he did not appear later to follow up. My point being, Judge, this is a 200+ day old case at this point. The bond is at $8,000, and it's not a bond that Mr. Carter can afford. To relay to the court, Mr. Carter's position, Your Honor, and I am relaying Mr. Carter's position. He believes this case should be dismissed, that there was no spitting and that there was no damage to any individuals except for himself. He does not know any of the canards in this case, husband or wife, and he's been in custody for over 200 days. His address would be 1328 Peachtree Street. I believe it would be a mailing address. But Judge, Mr. Carter's interest is he would like to continue to work. He was working full-time through a staffing agency, HD Supply, previous to his arrest, and he would like the opportunity to work again. Says the conditions at the jail are cruel and unusual, and I am sympathetic towards him based on this. But so we are requesting, Judge, a substantive reduction, and I believe Mr. Carter would request a UJR. As I stated, I understand that the felony charge is terroristic threats. There's no indication that Mr. Carter actually was going to follow up on those words. There was some heated words, I guess, because of the physical altercation, but I don't believe the history that I heard had many charges similar to this one. So we'd ask the court to at least consider a reduction in half and add Mr. Carter to the list if possible as well.
Okay, all right, Mr. Malkin.
Good evening, Your Honor.
Good evening.
The state would concur with Mr. Cho's request to cut the bond in half and make it $4,000 with stay away and other appropriate conditions. Thank you.
All right, 2,000 per count, 4,000 total. No further contact with Kiona, Kionna, Kennard, Kinard, and Kenneth Collins. Stay away from Home Suites 67 Walton Terrace, I guess, in Atlanta, Georgia. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You have to provide an address to the jail upon release where you're going to be living, sir. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe that's my only case, maybe, excuse.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you,
Judge,
AD Malcolm.
when you have a moment, I have a brief announcement for, I don't know who's covering Attorney Cole's case for Mr. Bradbury, who's an add-on. I don't know.
Good evening, Judge.
Hold on, I'm gonna try to wait to see if the attorney gets on. If I think she's Mr. Damian Bradbury. He's being represented by attorney Amy Cole.
There's Ms. Cole.
Hi, that case is actually being handled by Attorney Lang now.
Okay,
it just
Lieutenant Coughlin has an announcement as it relates to the jail for Mr. Bradbury.
okay. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Judge. Mr. Bradbury right now is very combative, and he's refusing to come to court. He is on a mental health zone, so that it's probably an issue right now.
Okay, well, he already has a $70,000 good bond. We could reset this one time. I mean, I don't want to put anybody at the jail in danger. So,
Your Honor, if I could I ask that we reset it 2 weeks to give me time to go personally see him at the jail and try to discuss the issue with him and see if maybe some form of paperwork from our office is in order?
sure. Ms. Richardson, Ms. Robinson, I'm sorry, you just sent him a day.
Yes, I'll reset it for 2 weeks. He was reset from last week for the same issue, so I'll reset it 2 weeks out.
Okay, we'll reset it. Thank you. All right, let's see. Adanya Hornsby.
Your Honor, very quickly, I apologize if I may. That was actually my only case with you this evening.
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, this is 22 CP 212923, 189 days without indictment. There is a $9,000 good bond as of January the 10th. Theft by taking, felony, driving and fleeing and attempting to elude. Preach! Rah!
All right, looks like I
I'm
don't.
here, York. I'm here.
Okay. Ms. Bostic is gonna take over.
All right, go ahead, Bostic.
What number is it, Judge?
It's Hornsby, number 8.
Hornsby, 2 prior arrests in Georgia. He has a hold in Jonesboro.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Rhodes. You're on mute, Mr. Rhodes. Hair looks good. I like the new dude.
Thanks. I just decided to let it out, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Miss Hornsby has been in jail for 189 days as of today. Her current bond is set at $5,000 on the theft by taking and $4,000 on fleeing. We do have a good address for her. It is the address on file. She would be living there with her grandmother. And I have verified that as well. Judge, she was working at a warehouse when she was arrested. I don't know if she'll be able to return to that job upon release. And, you know, as you've heard, she has 2 cycles, this being one, the other one being a case in Clayton County. She does have a hold out of Clayton County. It is for just marijuana possession. It's not a violent offense at all. It's really just regarding marijuana. She is also notably 32 weeks pregnant, Judge. That is 8 months. She's been having medical, you know, concerns and issues, you know, as, you know, being in that delicate state of being pregnant. She had a fever last week. She was just released from Grady today.
Whoa, 2 north, booth 3, sit down. Unless you're going to get meds, keep your seat. Go ahead.
And has been also been suffering from, you know, heightened heart rates as well. Probably as well due to medical complications due to the child that she is carrying. Again, she is 8 months pregnant. She does have that Clayton hold, as I mentioned. I've been speaking with the family. She does have a support system behind her. But as it stands, because of that hold and because of the uncertainty of, you know, when she actually would be released from jail, they're a little reluctant to post bond on her behalf at this point. Judge, at this point, all I can ask for is a UJR to the Clayton County hold. You know, noting again, she's been in 189 days without indictment. She is about to have this baby. I would like to see Miss Hornsby, either her case be moved along with an indictment or herself personally be moved along to Clayton County so that she can at least have a chance, you know, closer to, you know, getting out of jail and taking care of the child that is on the way. So again, Judge, we are asking for a UJR to the hold for Miss Hornsby.
Mr. Malkin.
Thank you. Yeah, I see that she was pregnant at the time of offense as well back in October, and hopefully she'll start making better choices when she stole the Amazon van, allegedly. And let's see, we can go along with Mr. Rhodes' request. She has been in a long time, does not have a bad record, so we would concur with his request at this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
What address is she gonna live at when she gets out, Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, Judge. One moment. The address,
I got a
Yeah.
South Carolina address. Is that it?
it is, yes.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. You also have 48 hours to have that ankle monitor placed on your ankle once you get released from your hold. Stay away from all Amazon property. Your 24-hour curfews, court, lawyer, medical, obviously have your baby, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, place of employment, and a schedule, and exactly the location you'll be working. Stay out of Fulton County except for court or to see your lawyer. Stay away from all Georgia Tech property. And stay away from all Amazon vehicles. So what I'm going to do is make it 2,000 on count one and 1,000 on count two, and or UJR to the whole, because if they don't come get her, then she'll just be sitting there. You follow me, Mr. Rhodes?
I'm not sure I understand.
Here's how it goes. Here's how it goes. Sometimes holds don't come pick them up. And if she's sitting there with a hold not come picking her up, she'll be sitting there under no bond. So if they don't come pick her up, she can make a $3,000 good bond, 2,000 on one, 1,000 on the other. Because you have some holds that won't come get her. So if they don't, they decide they don't want to come get her, then she'll be sitting here till you get her back on another calendar. So get a number bond. So I give her that number bond, and or if the hold comes, picks her up, she gets released to the hold.
Understood, Judge.
Make
Thanks.
sense?
Yeah.
Or I could just put UJR on the hold, and if they don't come get her, you can put her back on the calendar, whichever you prefer.
I mean, I would prefer just the UJR to the hold.
You got to understand, if they do not come get her, she will sit there with no bond until you get back on another calendar with me. And that will not be an emergency on my part. That will be an emergency on your part.
I understand what you're saying. Well, yes, UJR to the hold or the, 3,000 or 4,000 that you mentioned.
$3,000 good bond. Perfect. Excellent decision. Best of luck to you, ma'am. All right. So let me get, let's see, we got one more and we'll get to Perkins. Mr.
And
Perkins.
Judge, that will conclude my business, I believe. May I be excused?
Yes, sir. Mr. Perkins. Wave your hand if you're Perkins. There you go. And we'll take you next, Miss Claudia. All right. That's Rodney Perkins, 22 CP 208147. 369 days without indictment. Theft by receiving stolen property. There is a $2,500 good bond as of December the 8th. Free trial.
Judge, in regards to Mr. Perkins, extensive criminal history, 42 prior arrests, at least 13 felony convictions, include robberies and aggravated assaults, 4 misdemeanor, 1 being a misdemeanor CWAC, 1 FTA arrest for probation violation. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Collins.
Yes, Your Honor. Before you is Mr. Perkins. He has been incarcerated for 365 days, so it has been over a year. His case is unindicted, but he does have a bond, so it is in compliance with the law. However, Your Honor, he is unable to make that bond. I've spoken with his family. They don't have any money to put towards the bond. We did try the bail project back when his bond was $5,000. However, a probation hold popped up and that prevented him from getting assistance from them. And they're unable to reconsider his application after it's already been processed through them already. So he's in a situation where he cannot afford any bond. And Your Honor, we are just asking if you would consider a UJR through the jail or through pretrial at this point. Mr. Perkins, he is 56 years old. Of course, he's had a birthday since being in here. He has 4 children, 4 daughters, 2 adults, and 2 minors. He's a high school graduate. He graduated from Mays High School, and he was employed prior to his arrest. He was working in a factory, the Great American Cookies factory, as a forklift driver, and he had that position for 3 years. He does anticipate that he'll be able to get that job back given the rapport that he has with that company, but he hasn't worked in over a year, so he doesn't have any money to contribute to the bond. And so we would cite that as one of our changing circumstances, being his lack of financial resources. He does have a good address, 875 Rodney Drive in Atlanta should be the address on file. That's his family's home. That home has been in his family now for 50 years. I have spoken with his uncle to confirm that that is their family residence. Your Honor, we are again asking for UJR. It's been a year. This is a accusable case. We've even had a prelim and probable cause has been found, so the officer is available. I'm not sure what the holdup could possibly be, but at this point in time, I think it's only fair that Mr. Rodney Perkins not be held anymore. He has not contacted anyone regarding this case, so I don't think that he's going to violate any bond issues. He's actually a trustee at the jail now. He's been a trustee for over a month, so he has been doing positive things with his time in there, but it's been a year and it is time for him to go home.
Mr. Malkin.
Your Honor, I wish I could agree with Ms. Collins' request on Mr. Perkins, but he's got a terrible criminal history with 42 arrests, 13 felony convictions at least, including ag assault and robbery. His bond is really bare bones at $2,500. The state is requesting that it remain the same.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and also employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. No further contact with Mark Humphreys. There's a hold. You have 48 hours to have that ankle monitor placed on your ankle after you get released. $1,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir.
Can we get a status update on indictment?
I don't know that he knows, but I just included it in my email to Miss Willis.
Okay, and I'll verbally assert Mr. Perkins' right to a speedy trial at this time.
All right, Ms. Collins, if you could do me a favor and assert that in writing to Mr. Kenneth
I'll do
Hutchinson.
that as well, but I also want to
Okay.
just put it verbally on the record while you're here.
Yeah, but it's better if there's a paper record of it.
Mhm.
All right, let's see. Miss Claudia, raise your right hand. You swear affirm you'll translate from English to Spanish, Spanish to English, the best of your own skills and abilities.
I do.
All right, Daniel Gomez.
Daniel Gomez,
All right, 22CP214777.
212CP214777
Burglary in the second degree,
es por allanamiento de morada en segundo grado,
115 days without indictment.
115 días sin acusación formal.
He has a $5,000 good bond as of December 19th.
And el 19 de diciembre se le dio 5,000 para salir bajo fianza. Los servicios de antecedentes penales de pre-trial.
No prior arrest.
No tienen arrestos previos.
Yeah, Ms. Beck.
No tiene.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gomez is 27 years old.
Gracias, su señoría. El señor Gómez tiene 27 años de edad.
He does have family ties to Georgia. Several of his uncles live here with him.
Tiene vínculos aquí en la comunidad en Georgia. Varios de sus tíos viven aquí.
At the time of his arrest, he was working in landscaping and construction with his uncles.
Cuando se le arrestó, él estaba trabajando en jardinería y construcción con sus tíos.
We have looped in our social worker team to assist in finding Mr. Gomez a substance abuse treatment program.
Hemos estado buscando junto con los servicios sociales un lugar donde él pueda ir para rehabilitarse con respecto a su adicción a sustancias.
We are asking the court for a $2,500 bond to assist us in finding Mr. Gomez a treatment program.
Solicitamos de la juez que se le otorgue una fianza de $2,500. Entre tanto, estamos buscando un lugar a donde él pueda ir a recibir tratamiento.
And I would like to point out, I would like to point out that this is his first court date since his first appearance. And additionally, he does not have his prelim scheduled at this time.
Y quisiera indicar que esta es la primera vez que aparece de nuevo en el tribunal después de su primera comparecencia y no hay una fecha todavía para una audiencia de causa fundamentada.
He doesn't have an address where he'll be living.
¿No tiene una dirección donde él va a estar viviendo?
Not at this time, Your Honor. We're hoping to find a program that includes housing or assistance in finding housing.
No, en este momento estamos tratando de encontrar un programa que incluya también un lugar donde él pueda vivir o que le ayude a buscar una vivienda.
Go ahead, Mr. Malkin.
Thank
Señor
you.
Malcolm.
The state would concur in Ms. Beck's request of a $2,500 bond with an ankle monitor and stay away condition from the location.
Y bueno, estamos de acuerdo con la señora Beck, con la licenciada Beck, con respecto a que se le dé una fianza de $2,500, que se le ponga un grillete electrónico y que se mantenga alejado del lugar de los hechos.
No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons.
No drogas a menos que hayan sido recetados los medicamentos, no drogas, no armas.
Stay away from 227 Sandy Springs Place Northeast in Sandy Springs.
Mantenerse alejado de la 227 Sandy Springs Northeast en Sandy Springs.
It's called O'Reilly's Public House.
Se llama O'Reilly's Public House.
Ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew.
Se le va a poner un grillete electrónico pagado por el condado de 24 horas de toque de queda.
Court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as he supplies name of his employer, proof of employment, schedule, and where he'll be working.
Y únicamente va a poder salir para ir a sus citas del tribunal, para ver al abogado, para cosas médicas, y si trabaja y tiene que documentar todo esto diciendo cuál es el horario y cuáles son las personas a las que va a ver relativas a lo que le dije.
$2,500 good bond.
Se le va a dar una fianza de $2,500 que puede obtener por afianzadora, si puede.
And he has to supply an address where he'll be living.
Y tiene que proporcionar una dirección a donde usted va a estar viviendo.
Best of luck to you, sir.
La mejor de las suertes para usted, señor.
He can leave the booth.
Ya puede salirse de ahí de la celda.
Thank you, Miss Claudia.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Have a good
Have a
evening.
good day. You too.
All right. Keenan Cooper. Wave your hand if you're Keenan Cooper. All right. Position 722 CP 207-777, 112 days without indictment. Looks like pretrial came off of his bonds on pretrial on 127. So I got possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, possession of MDMA, failure to obey traffic control devices, obstruction of a law enforcement officer, driving with license suspended or revoked. Ms. Collins, are we only addressing possession of marijuana with intent to distribute?
Yes, Your Honor. I would just also like if you could maybe put some language to say he's continued on the original bond because he did pay that bond separate from pretrial. It's just that
that's what I want to know. Have they came off of it? Are you sure?
Yes, they only came off of the one count that he had.
Pretrial. All right.
I just to be extra careful.
We do that. Pretrial.
6 prior arrests in Tennessee and Delaware. I guess he took a plea since been in custody, maybe. For 2022 DUI, defective headlights, prior conviction for conspiracy to launder money. Nothing further.
Go ahead, Ms. Collins.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Cooper, he's 46 years old. He's a high school graduate, and he also completed 2 years of college where he was studying business management. He's been in Georgia now for over 23 years. He has a wife and children now. He has 2 children, a 17-year-old and a 10-year-old. His 17-year-old is set to graduate high school in May, and she has prom this Saturday. And Mr. Cooper is hoping to be there to wish his daughter off to prom. He is working. He works as a security officer at a nightclub. He's worked there for 8 years now. He does have a good address in Lithonia, 7568 Willow Leaf Trail in Lithonia, Georgia, 30058. He lives there with his wife and children. He doesn't have much violent history, Your Honor. There was that misdemeanor plea back in December. That was the reason pretrial came off of the bond, because of that misdemeanor arrest. But that case has since been resolved. And I think the only thing holding him in is this one count of marijuana with intent to distribute. Your Honor, he is asking if you will consider giving him another chance on pretrial. I didn't hear that he really had any issues with reporting. It was just the issue of the new arrest. And so he would like a second chance with pretrial if Your Honor is willing to do that. I didn't hear that he had any significant history of FTAs or anything of that nature. As far as conditions, just in anticipation, we would just ask maybe if there could be a condition for him to, if you are inclined to put him on an ankle monitor, a condition for him to, of course, attend his children's school-related events, being the graduation and potentially the prom, and that there be no stay out of Fulton County because the club that he works at is located in Fulton County.
Mr. Malkin.
Okay, is the request for an $8,500 bond, but on pretrial?
I think she's wanting back on pretrial. Bostic, y'all take him back? Usually when they kick him off, they don't want him back.
No, Judge, I think the initial thing was, as some of them do, it was pretrial so he could have some type of supervision.
Yeah, that's not their job.
Right. Because due to him being a multi-state offender, he would not have qualified initially for pretrial service.
I got you. All right.
So the state would request an ankle monitor and a good bond. You would just have to post a good bond.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no driving unless he has a valid license. Stay away from 330 Capitol Avenue. Stay out of Fulton County unless he's here for court, lawyer, or to work. He has to provide proof of employment, his schedule, and the exact location he's going to be working. 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as he supplies the name of his employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location. It's the only way he can come back to Fulton County. Let's see. And he can go to, I doubt his daughter wants him to go to prom with her. I mean, I kind of doubt that. That would be a bummer of a prom, I guess. But I'll allow him to go to graduations, things of that nature. But don't get frisky, sir. That don't mean you go to lunch and have lunch with your kids at school. Stay out of Fulton County. All right. So we'll do a $1,500 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. The rest of them will remain the same.
Your Honor, he works in Fulton County.
I said he can come back as long as he supplies proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location he's going to be
Okay.
working if he gets his job back.
Okay, what was the bond amount again?
$1,500.
Thank you.
All right. Eddie Hawkins.
I'm sorry, that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. You can be
Thank you.
excused. Thank you. All right. 12. It's Eddie Hawkins, 22 CP 214922. 110 days without an indictment. There is a $2,000 good bond as of December 24th on theft by shoplifting. Pre-trial.
In regards to Mr. Hawkins' extensive arrest history, a lot of it is for theft by shoplifting, some very old ones, some more recent, 08, 09, 18, and 16, arrest for probation violation, nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Beck.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Hawkins is 66 years old. He has lived in Georgia for the last 30 years. The address that is correct, it's slightly incorrect on file. So it's 520 Jonesboro Road, Union City, Georgia, 30213, and it's apartment B. He lives there with his friend. He does have a daughter who also lives here in Georgia. And I have been in touch with her. She does support her father and does want him to be home. He's a high school graduate and also attended some college. He does have some medical concerns. He played in the NFL for a short period and had some bad concussions through that and has suffered for the rest of his life. We are asking for a bond not to exceed $1,000 today. I already know that it's very low. However, he is unable to make that. So we are hoping to get it down a little bit more so that his family can help him get out.
All right, Mr. Malkin.
They would agree to the $1,000 request.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from all Walmart stores in the state of Georgia. Stay away from 4735 Georgia Highway 38 Union City. That happens to be a Walmart. We're gonna keep you out of Walmart stores though, sir. We're gonna put you on an ankle monitor, paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you're gonna be working. Best of luck to you, sir. $1,000 good bond. Nicholas Anthony. You can go ahead and leave, sir. Nicholas Anthony. Wave your hand if you're Nicholas Anthony. No Nicholas Anthony. What about Jarvis Mitchell? There we go. All right. 22 CP 214674, 118 days without indictment. Possession of cocaine. No bond as of December the 15th. Preach. Rah.
Jarvis Mitchell, number 18, 9 prior arrests, 3 misdemeanors. Currently, open case 22 CP 213887, schedule 1 or 2 with intent, probation. Sentence 10-421, cocaine with intent, firearm during, firearm by, 2 years confinement, 8 years probation, nothing further.
All right. Ms. Kimbrough, there you are.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Mitchell has been in custody for 118 days without indictment, also without a preliminary hearing. He is 39 years of age. He is an Atlanta native. All of his family currently reside in the state of Georgia. He is the proud father of one 9-year-old son who actually lived with him prior to being arrested. He was working as a driver with Bulldog Movers, and we have confirmed that he can get his job back if he is released. He has been in custody for 118 days with a no bond. We are asking for a bond not to exceed $8,000. The address that is listed in Odyssey is a valid address that he can live at, and that has been confirmed, Your Honor. Again, 118 days without an indictment, also without a preliminary hearing. So we're just asking for the bond not to exceed $8,000.
Mr. Malkin.
Thank you. He committed this crime allegedly while out on bond for another case, according to pretrial, it sounds like. And so normally the state would request no bond, but looks like he is entitled to a bond. So the state would request a $25,000 good bond on him.
Looks like it was allegedly 25 hits or 7.9 grams of cocaine. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 1660 Jonesboro Road. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, a schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working, sir. $20,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. See, no Nicholas Anthony yet still, right? Arnold Relaford.
Judge, what was that amount again? I'm sorry.
$20,000. 20, Arnold Relaford. Or Arnold Relaford. Nope. Brian.
He's there, Your Honor. He just raised his hand, 1 North 108.
Okay. All right. Number, isn't like 18 or 19. The numbers on the calendar changed. We got Arnold Relaford, 22 CP 214681, 119 days. Without indictment, no bond as of December the 15th. Possession of cocaine, willful obstruction of law enforcement officer by use of threats or violence, DUI, let's say, failure to report striking a fixed object, hit and run, duty to stop or return to the scene of an accident, pedestrian and roadway, criminal trespass, and reckless conduct. Free trial.
30 prior arrests, 3 in Louisiana, 27 in Georgia. Very old capital CWAC. 04 terror and a prior battery. Nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Kinnebrew.
Your Honor, Mr. Relaford is 62 years of age. He has lived in Georgia all his life. He does have 4 grown children. He did graduate from high school and he also attended college. He does have a job with Transport Solutions of America if he is able to be released soon. We are asking for a bond not to exceed $10,000. He has been in custody for 119 days without a preliminary hearing and also without an indictment. So again, we're asking for $10,000, Your Honor.
What's he do for Transport Solutions of America?
He is a driver. And he was employed for over a year full-time before he was arrested.
Before he got the hit and run and all that other stuff? Go ahead, Mr. Malkin.
The state requests a $25,000 good bond on Mr. Relaford.
No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 1922 Penelope Road. Stay away from 238 Aaron Street. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supplied the name of your employer, proof of employment, location, and a schedule to the ankle monitoring company and to Ms. Kennebrew so she can supply it to the state. No further contact with Lauren, last name Leplatte. No further contact with Sandra Dockett, or this didn't have a first name, but just says Miss Farrell. All right, 5 on the cocaine, 5 on the obstruction, 3 on the DUI, and then 1 on the rest, each remaining count. 1 on failure to stop. 5, 5, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. Got that, Ms. Holmes?
Yes, Judge, I got it.
All right, best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. What about Elijah Simmons? Nope. Brian Santano. You gotta wave your hand if I'm calling you. Brian Santana. Nope. Dominique Reed. All right. Dominique Reed, I think you got 2 cases. 2-2 CP.
Your Honor.
2-2. Oh, that Miss Bray's got her vacation hair on. Looks good, Miss Bray. Hope you had a good vacation.
I did. Thank you.
Excellent. 2-2 CP 207444. Dominique Reed, 250 days without indictment. Looks like pretrial came off of this. Previously, there was a $4,000 good bond in January. Is that one still good?
Is
It
what still
came
good?
off
This?
it, Your Honor. It's holding him in, I believe.
Because pretrial had came off of it, but then there was a $4,000 good bond set in January the 9th.
I think his total bond it might be $7,000 for both cases.
All right. So it's theft by possession of stolen mail, theft by taking, misdemeanor, loitering, and prowling. Then you got 22 CP 213974, burglary in the first degree. And that is a $3,000 good bond as of December the 12th. Raw.
But in regards to Mr. Reed, 27 prior arrests, a 2022 theft by taking, numerous open cases, 21 CR 001406F, loitering and prowling, 22 CP 213974, criminal trespass, burglary in the first degree. I'm probably going to read one of the ones that's on here. 21 CP 201513, disorderly conduct, drug-related objects, loitering and prowling, obstruction, meth. 21 CP 203516, burglary in the second degree. I think that's the other one. 21 CP 2070. Financial transaction card, theft, 2 counts, ID fraud, theft by taking, and loitering and prowling. Nothing further.
Go ahead, Ms. Bray.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Dominique Reed is 31 years old. He is a lifelong resident of the state of Georgia. I have been in contact with his mother, Miss Cynthia Gray, since he's been in these 250 days. The address he would live is 1965 Austell Road, apartment 135, Marietta, Georgia. I do want Your Honor to know that we have tried, and by we, I mean me, Miss Gowdy, Miss Pinto on my team. I know in January 16th, we did receive an acceptance letter into Trinity House, as well as for Hope House. And Mr. Reed chose Trinity House. I would be asking for a UJR to the program, Your Honor. And that's for both cases.
All right, Mr. Malkin.
Your Honor, Mr. Reed has a horrible record and continues to commit crime while he's out on bond for numerous cases. The state requests that the bond not be lowered any further. Thank you.
All right.
But can the state tell us when, since he's been in 250 days now, when will something happen on this case so that he can move forward on this case or on both cases?
Good evening, Ms. Bray. I would suggest that you reach out to Mr. Kenneth Hutcherson and let him know your client is ready to enter a plea or at least get the process rolling, and in case he wants to contest it, and let him know that.
Okay. Your Honor, on the case that has the possession of stolen mail, I want, Your Honor, if I'm pretty sure you've already read the warrant, but the warrant does not state that there were 10 separate pieces of mail. It talks about one person, one package, and a house key.
I got you. I've already put this on the email also to Ms. Willis.
To Judge Willis, I mean, look at me, Judge Willis. I mean, Madam Willis.
Right. I've already sent the email, went through my calendar today.
Okay.
All right. On the first case, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. Stay away from 1178 La Vista Circle. No further contact with Rachel Grizzell, Grizzell. Stay away from 1215 La Vista Road, Northeast. No further contact with, this says Joash, last name Lazaorus, and no further contact with Crruna, last name Bay, Bay. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and also employment and participating in a program, as long as you supply the place of employment, name of the program, schedule and location, exact location you're going to be working. $500 count one, $750 count two, $750 count three. Next case, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Andrew Ryan. So he's not going to, he must reside at 1965 Allstill Road. Stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, or working in the program. Supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. Supply that to Ms. Bray and to the ankle monitoring company, sir. Stay away from 893 Stonecrest Road. Yep, and I think no further contact with Andrew Ryan. $2,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth.
Thank you, Your Honor. That was the only case I had on the calendar.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
All right.
Trajan Manning. Trajan Manning, no relation whatsoever. 22 CP 214869. There's a wait. I know you're going to waive it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 counts. Mr. Cazzoli. Preach. Raw.
Only prior arrest.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Cazzoli.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Manning is 20 years old. He still has a good address listed at 240 Spalding Trail, Northeast, Sandy Springs, Georgia 30328, where he's been living for the last 2 years before his incarceration with his mother, his father, and his 2 sisters. I have spoken with his father, and he supports his son and confirmed that he'd be able to return to that address. He's been in Atlanta since moving to that address, Your Honor. He is a high school graduate. Before his incarceration, he was working at Kroger doing produce stocking. He'd been doing that for about a year. As mentioned, Your Honor, he has little to no history. Right now, his bond is currently set at $100,000. With such little history, Your Honor, and with the state's inability to indict this so far, we are asking for this bond to be reduced to $25,000. Your Honor, we understand that that is a steep drop, but he has no other history, and these are not violent charges. I'm not sure if you've read the warrant on these, Your Honor. So we are asking for that reduction.
All right.
And again, Your Honor, and we would remind the state if we could avoid speaking about the content of these charges.
Sure. What says the state?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Ask that the bond remain the same. Without mentioning the substance of the charges, they are sexual in nature and involving juvenile images. We would state that that's something that is a danger to the community. Furthermore, Your Honor, due to the nature of the charges and the seriousness of the charges, there's been no real reason given why the charges should be reduced or why the bond amount should be reduced. We feel that $100,000 is a very reasonable amount. Additionally, if he hasn't been given, if the court sees it in your opinion to give him a bond, I'd ask that it be one that requires him to wear an ankle monitor have no contact with any minors, as well as no social media or internet contact. But again, the state's main and first request is that the bond remain the same. We have not edited it, but will intend to within the next 60 days. We are still investigating the case. There are numerous images involved in the case.
All right, I'm gonna add some to this. I didn't do this bond initially, so I'm gonna add some conditions here. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with anyone under the age of 18 unless they're his own children. No computers, no social media, no internet. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. And he is going to live in Fulton County, right?
Your Honor, yes.
Okay.
Fulton County, so we would ask for no avoiding Fulton County, please.
Okay. Let's see, make sure I got it. Let's see. All right, $8,000 per count. Best of luck to you, sir. All right, Albert Jackson.
I'm sorry, Mr. Manning, that's going to be $80,000 total, sir. So it was reduced by 20. And Your Honor, I realize I have several other names on the calendar today. I believe this is my only case that can actually go forward. I'm sorry, Mr. Manning, you can go ahead, sir. I'm speaking to the judge. I believe the other ones, Your Honor, have either been indicted or declined.
Yes, that's right. I think this is your only one.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
All right, have a good one. See, Albert Jackson. Think you waved your hand. All right. 22 CP 214689, 119 days without indictment, no bond as of December the 15th. BGCSA, possession of methamphetamines, possession of Schedule 2 controlled substance, possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Raw.
25 Georgia, 1 Utah, 6 felonies, currently on probation. I think. Wait a minute, let me, okay. 1, 2, 3 cocaines, currently on probation. 4, 30, 18, 3 years confinement, 5 years probation. Aggravated assault, possession of a knife, and aggravated assault, terroristic threats, knife during simple battery, cruelty in the third. Nothing further.
All right, Ms. Kennebrew.
Your Honor, Mr. Jackson is 36 years of age. He has lived in Georgia his entire life. All of his family is here. We have been working with my social worker to get Mr. Jackson into a program. He has been in custody for 119 days without indictment, also without a preliminary hearing. He is the proud father of 2 children. He did graduate from high school and he also attended college. He was working at a car garage fixing cars prior to being arrested. I've been in contact with his sister. She is hoping for him to get a bond so that the family can attempt to pay this bond. We're asking for the bond not to exceed $3,500, Your Honor.
And is he gonna live at the address on Peachtree?
We're still working on the address.
Okay. All right, what says the state?
The state would request an ankle monitor as well as a $25,000 good bond. Mr. Jackson has a bad criminal history and was on probation when he committed this crime. Thank you.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Sorry, I was just looking at where it was attached and how. Thought I'd misread something. Stay away from 2448 Cheshire Bridge Road, Northeast in Atlanta, Georgia. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, the exact location you're going to be working in a schedule. You also have to supply an address where you're going to be living before they let you out. That's one of your bond conditions, sir. $7,000 and $100. So $14,100, $7,000 and $100. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. And that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Ankle monitors paid for by the county. Marvin Arnold. All right, 22 CP 214889, 110 days without indictment. Criminal damage to property, second degree, burglary in the second degree, $30,000 good bond as of December the 24th. Raw.
Extensive criminal history, 16 arrests in Georgia, 1 in Virginia, 4 in New York, 20 in North Carolina. History of burglaries, 2012, 2020, 2020. currently on probation for burglary from 2020 for 5 years. Also another one for 5 years, 17 SC 156488, and criminal damage to property, 5 years confinement, 5 years probation, nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Rosenhover.
Good evening, Judge. Mr. Arnold is 60 years old. He did have a birthday while in custody. He's resided in and out of Georgia for the past 19 years, but has consistently been here the last 4. While he did provide us with an address, I haven't been able to verify it, and my social worker is involved in working on finding Mr. Arnold a program. He has disclosed certain MH issues, which he is being medicated for at the jail currently. So we're hopeful we'll get him something that can assist with housing as well as treatment. He does have 2 children, made it to the 11th grade, and was working on his GED prior to his incarceration. And most recently, he was working loading trucks at a warehouse at a company called Work Harder. At this time, he's unable to make any bond, so we would request a total of $5,000 so we would be able to utilize the bail project. Thank you.
Great, Mr. Malkin.
Unfortunately, Mr. Arnold has a bad criminal history, and the state would request that the bond not be lowered any further.
All right, I'm gonna add some conditions. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 264 Memorial Drive Southeast in Atlanta, Georgia. That's Daddy D's Barbecue. Kind of makes me hungry. No further contact with CHRISTIANAH Jackson. Common spelling for Jackson. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county, 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. You're also going to have to supply an address where you're going to be living, sir. Yeah. 5,000, 15,000. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Judge. And that concludes my business, if I may be excused.
Yes, ma'am. Brian Santano. Nicholas Anthony. Elijah Simmons.
Your Honor, Nicholas Anthony's in the booth. He's in 1 North 106.
Gentlemen, you got to wave your hands when I call your name. All right, Nicholas Anthony. 22 CP 214928. 112 days without indictment. There is a $2,500 good bond as of December the 26th. Unauthorized possession of item by an inmate crossing state county guard lines with weapons, intoxicant, drugs without consent, possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Preach! Row!
Nicholas Anthony, 6 prior arrests, 1 misdemeanor, 1 arrest for probation violation, 2 a first offender on burglary in 2010, open case 22 CP 209750, marijuana with the intent, MDMA, nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Singleton. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you too, Judge. Your Honor, Mr. Anthony is 30 years old, Your Honor. He has his GED, does suffer from PTSD, Your Honor. He actually lives in the state of Florida. He lives down in Miami where his entire family resides, Your Honor. He was picked up on a probation warrant. The underlying issues behind that warrant is not reporting, but to Mr. Anthony's understanding, he had transferred his probation down to Dade County from Fulton County, but there was a mix-up with the paperwork there, Your Honor. And this is an incident from within the jail. He currently has that probation violation still holding him in right now under case number 22 PV 000192, Your Honor. There is no court date set on that at this time, and we're not entirely sure when a court date will be set. So we're actually asking at this time that he be granted a UJR because he's not going anywhere anytime soon until the probation matter is handled. And 2, we're not entirely sure when the state will decide to move forward on this case, just based off recent history. In custody cases are taking a little bit longer to get indicted at this time, Your Honor. So we do not want him to be held up because of that, especially if his probation matter gets handled, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Malkin.
This is a jail incident, and he does not have significant roots to the community. Being from Florida, state would ask that he not receive a lower bond than he has.
All right, no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. Let's see, 1,000, 1,000, and 100. 1,000, 1,000, and 100. Best of luck to you, sir.
That actually concludes my business with the court, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
You too.
Let's see. All right, Brian Bellin. All right, Ms. Beck, we got 22 CP 214753, 117 days without indictment, aggravated assault. Looks like there is no bond on this. Pre-trial.
What number?
It's number 2 on the add-on, Brian Bellin.
Okay. Extensive arrest history, 51 prior arrests, at least 5 felonies, FTAs, 2 misdemeanors, felony convictions are aggravated assault, terroristic threats, battery, family violence. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bella is 50 years old. He is a high school graduate. He graduated from Riverdale Senior High School. Prior to his arrest, he was working at Bannister's Upholstery in East Point, and he was working there as a receptionist. He is a lifelong resident of Georgia. The address that is on file is still a good address for him, and I did verify that with his mother the other day. We are asking for a bond not to exceed $20,000, Your Honor. And I would like the court to know that he has not had a preliminary hearing at this time either.
Okay, make sure you email us a list so we'll know. Is his address in Atlanta?
Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. I believe so, Your Honor.
Carriageway, does that sound right, sir? Give me a thumbs up.
Carriageway, yes.
All right. Mr. Malkin.
We would ask that the bond not be lowered. He's got a significant criminal history, including multiple FTAs, violent cases, and numerous convictions. Thank you.
What's no bond right now? It's been
Oh,
100.
no bond.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. The state would ask for a $60,000 bond and an ankle monitor.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. No further contact with Richard Abernathy. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employment, proof of employment, a schedule, the exact location you're going to be working, sir. You have to supply that to the ankle monitoring company and to Miss Beck. $25,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. Ramon Pritchett. Thank you, Miss Beck. Is that it? Or do you have a couple? Oh, you got another. This is it. Yours, Mr. Pritchett.
All me.
No, Mr. Pritchett. What about Mr. Goodwin? All right. 22 CP 214780, 116 days without indictment, possession of cocaine, possession of drug-related objects. As of December the 19th, there's a $2,500 good bond. Pre-trial.
In regards to Mr. Goodwin, multi-state offender, Tennessee, old convictions in the 90s, and then recently aggravated burglary in 2012. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead. Ms. Beck.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Goodwin is 52 years old. He has lived in Georgia for the last 5 years. He does have 2 children, 32 years old and 21 years old. He went through the 11th grade. Prior to his arrest, he was working with a lawn service. While his bond is very low at this time, he's still unable to afford it, and we are trying to get him into a substance abuse program. So if we could get the bond lowered to $1,000, that would significantly help in our ability to do so. Additionally, I did want to make the court aware that this is a one-hit coat case, and there have been other cases recently with the district attorney's office where they have declined to prosecute.
All right, Mr. Malkin.
Thank you. We can concur with Ms. Beck's request for the $1,000 bond.
All right, so we got 750 on count 1, 250 on count 2. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 805 Oak Street Southwest. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth.
Mr. Goodwin, your bond was set at $1,000 total.
James McClung. All right, 22 CP 214824. 114 days without indictment, interference with government property. There is a $3,500 good bond as of December the 20th. Pre-trial.
McClung. 5 for probation violation, FTA in 21, terrorist threats in Schedule 2 and 08. Got time served on 22 SC 182, 638 criminal damage to property, February the 22nd. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Cole.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McClung is 38 years old. He does have a stable address. It's the address that's provided. He lives there with his brother. He is able to return to that address as well. He had a job lined up that he was about to start when all of this happened. He's also the father to 1 son. Your Honor, Mr. McClung is dependent on family members for transportation. His brother's car had broken down, and that's when he got the failure to appear. He was arrested for that failure to appear when this charge came about. It is a nonviolent charge. The failure to appear, as well as the underlying cases for the failure to appear, have all been resolved now. This is I believe, his only outstanding case at this time. His bond is $3,500. He's been in custody for 114 days without indictment or a preliminary hearing. His bond has been $3,500 for the entire time. He's unable to pay it, and he also does not have family member phone numbers, which means that the bail project cannot bond him out, and he cannot contact family to assist with paying his bond. Based on the nature of this charge and his limited history, we are asking for a UJR today. It looks like that's his only option to get released at this time, Your Honor.
So you got an address where he's going to live?
I do, Your Honor. It's on his booking sheet. It's the same one.
Is it Fulton County?
It is. It's Fairburn.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Malkin.
The state would ask that it not be lowered below $3,000.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 216 Northwest Broad Street in Fairburn, Georgia. Let's see. Kicked out the glass in the back of a police car. All right. $3,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. All right.
Your Honor, that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Case 1 Brown. All right, 22 CP 214778, 115 days without indictment, theft by taking felony, no bond as of December the 19th. Free. Raw.
6 prior arrests, open case 21 CP 204492, hijacking, reckless conduct, robbery, open case 22 CR 00802, 6F obstruction. Nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Brown is 19 years old. He is a lifelong resident of Georgia. The address that is on, well, I'm not sure if it's on file, so I'll read it anyways. 1619 Rogers Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia, 30310. That is a good address for him. It is his grandmother's address, and she has told Ms. Saparazzi that he is welcome to stay there with her. In addition to his grandmother, his mom and most of his extended family also live here in Georgia. He received his GED, and while he wasn't officially employed, he did help his brother with various tasks. He had his first appearance on December 19th, 2022, and he has not had a preliminary hearing yet. We are asking for a $5,000 bond total so that we can hopefully get the bail project to help him.
All right, Mr. Malkin.
What is his bond currently?
No bond.
Oh, no bond. Yeah, the state actually thinks that, that's reasonable considering he's got 2 open cases, but we've got to assign a bond. So the state would say $50,000, Mr. Brown.
All right, let's see. All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 720 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway, Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia. No further contact with William Simmons, Simmons. Also, no further contact with co-defendants. Khamani, last name Majors. Then Quamarius, Quamarius, last name Hosch. And Rashad, Rashad, Irvy, Irvy. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supplied the name of your employer, proof of employment, location, and a schedule. You have supplied that to Ms. Safarasi and to the ankle monitoring company. It may be looking for more here. It says he's a known gang associated of the most hated gang. So no further contact with any members of any gangs, no replicas of weapons, no further contact with anybody in the most hated gangs. I guess that's MHG. No social media. $25,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. All right, let's see. So I've got 3 sitting here. So it's got to be, it's either Mr. Pritchett.
Yes,
All right.
he's here, Your Honor.
All right. 22 CP 212401, 207 days without indictment, theft by shoplifting. There's a $10,000 good bond as of September the 17th. Wow.
Richard. 2 misdemeanor, 1 FTA, 1 arrest for probation violation, on probation, entering auto, aggravated assault, 12. 319, 7 years, open case, 2223 SC 185917, Schedule 2, firearm by, theft by receiving, theft by taking, obstruction, firearm during, assigned to Judge Lethbridge. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Pritchett is 21 years old. He has lived in Georgia for the last 7 years. He moved here from Baltimore, Maryland. The address that is on file is still a good address for him. He lives there with his mom and his siblings. And I did verify that with his mom. He has 2 children that are on the way. He has 1 brother and 7 sisters, and his mom, cousins. A lot of his extended family also live here in Georgia. He went through the 8th grade, but he has taken a few of the GED classes. Prior to his arrest, he was working for another company, but he does have a job prospect in that his dad's girlfriend works for a company and is able to get him a job through that. I also did verify with his mom that it is a drug and gun-free household. We are asking for a bond not to exceed $5,000, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Malkin.
With an open VGCSA and gun buy case, the state would ask that it not be lowered below $8,000, please.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Looks like you live in Lithonia, so stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. You're gonna have ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. Stay away from all Macy's, stay away from Lenox Mall, stay away from 3393 Peachtree Road, which should be fine because all that's in Fulton County, and you got to stay away from Fulton County. $8,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. I got 2 files in front of me. I got Elijah Simmons, Brian Centeno. All right. Let's see. 22 CP 214805. Brian Centeno, 116 days without indictment. There's a $7,000 good bond as of December the 19th on entering an automobile or motor vehicle with intent to commit a theft or a felony. Pre-trial.
Multi-state offender, 27 in Georgia, 2 in Missouri, 1 in New York. Probation, entering auto, 2019, 19 SC 171526, 10/15/19, 3 months, confinement 4 years, 9 months probation in New York, conspiracy to commit. Then a prior entering auto, 2019 and 2020, possession of drugs and obstruction in 2020. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Beck.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Santano is 32 years old. He has lived in Georgia for the last 9 years. The address of 120 Peachtree Pines in Atlanta, Georgia, 30303 is still a good address for him. He does have a lot of family here in the state, including his baby mama, his dad, his stepmom, and his children. He has 5 children, 10-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 8-year-old, and 7-year-old. And the address that I provided for you, he lives there with his dad and his stepmom. He went through high school. He did not graduate, but he went through the 12th grade. Prior to his arrest, he was an artist doing music and paint as well as drawing, and he would sell that. He does have diagnosed MH and is on Social Security, and as well, he gets money through his artist work. He has gone 116 days without indictment, and again, he has not had a preliminary hearing. We are asking for $3,000, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Malkin.
With his multi-state criminal history, the state is requesting that the bond not be lowered any further than it is. Thank you.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 44 Broad Street Northwest. No further contact with Gail. Sharrian, last name Jones, Jones. And I'm sorry, I missed that address. Is it a Fulton County address?
Yes, Your Honor, it's in Atlanta, Georgia, 30303.
All right, let's see. Make sure I got this right. And you'll have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, and attorney visits. So long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, location, and a schedule. You have to give that to the ankle monitoring company and to Ms. Safarasi so she could turn it over to the state. $5,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. Oh, and no further. Oh, I got Nick Jones. Best of luck to you. So what about Elijah Simmons? I also don't see Mr. Anderson on here because it says to address the counts 1 through 7, which bonding company came off. And before he said bonding company didn't come off that.
Yes, Judge, I was instructed to put it back on by the clerk's office since the clerk said that they came off of those counts as well. But Lieutenant Coughlin can give you an update. I think they're having some trouble locating the defendant and getting him in the Zoom booth, but he can elaborate a little bit more on that.
I mean, Mr. Anderson's not here anyway.
Your Honor, it is set on the preliminary hearing calendar for the 13th on Thursday.
Oh, is that mine?
How you doing, Judge? Trying to make contact with the staff on the 4th floor at the jail. I'm unable to. They're having some situations up there, but I'll continue to try to make contact so they can get Elijah Simmons into the booth.
I got you. You don't need to worry about it. If he's got I don't know if it's.
Yeah, it's preliminary on Thursday at 1 o'clock.
Do you know, is that in front of me or is that in front of someone else?
I believe it's Judge. I'm looking at my count.
Sorry. I think it's me if it's 1, maybe.
It's 1 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that might be mine. That way we could just hear it on Thursday here because we just heard the prelim portion on the games. Let's see. Wait a minute, where's he at? Yeah, there he is. Okay, I could just hear it on Thursday at the prelim because we heard him before. He said that they had not come off of it.
Okay, Judge, may I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's it for the evening, isn't it?
I have questions, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
Dustin Williams, still in jail.
We redid the bond order.
Was it resubmitted?
No, Judge, I sent the information to Dexter. I think the last thing that Ms. Beck requested was, does she need to redo the bond order? Does the clerk's office need to redo the bond order? And Ms. Beck can jump in if I'm misstating.
No, that was exactly what I did. I've never done one, but I'm always happy to help.
Right, and I sent the information to Mr. Douglas because I think from her conversations, Lieutenant Coughlin had put her in touch with a supervisor there at the jail with the exact language that needed to be included in the order. And I sent it to Dexter, who is the supervisor in the clerk's office, to see if he can get those orders, I guess, redrafted or amended to the correct way as to what the language needed. But I haven't had any feedback yet from him as of, I think she sent that on late Friday. I made sure to get it to him on Monday or today. I think it was Monday, to see if he could assist with that, but I don't know the status of it.
Let's see. I know somebody has a bond order they could.
I think it was.
So I tried to download one off of Odyssey and then modify it, but then I felt like I was like committing fraud, so I stopped. But yeah, I'm sure someone does have one.
Let's see. Let me find.
So that's what needs to be done. That's fine. I just need to know either way because I have him and I have Walter Brim, who's in a very similar situation in that he needs to be extradited, but the wording they didn't like, so.
All right, let's see.
And I think she had both of those in that email.
Yes.
They were on the same email.
Yes, thank you so much.
Trying to think of somebody who would, I know Miss Bray has one. I mean, I've got a bond order I can send you, but it's a PDF. Unless, do you have the steps to change it from PDF to Word?
No, we're not that cool. Send me a. I just asked Miss Bray, but she is very good about putting work to the side after hours, so I may just have to wait.
All right, no, let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see this one. Ms. Holmes, could you send her one in Word, or you just have it through Odyssey?
It's through Odyssey, Judge. I got a lot to fill out, but
Yeah,
go ahead and send me the information. I can try and fill it out with the ones I'm doing now.
what if does it need to be a whole new bond order or like a modification?
I really don't know. I didn't think that we would get to this point, so at this point, I don't know.
You know who has, I know Liz Markowitz has one, but here you go.
I'll ask her as well.
Are they changing something on it, on the one that's done for the person already?
All they're trying to do is some of the wording, so it could be a UJR or the money, right?
I can forward her a copy of the email if Miss Beck, the email that Miss Beck sent you and I, Judge, regarding the bond order to Miss Holmes. So
okay,
she can kind of see the conversation and kind of catch, see what.
Okay, Miss Beck, if I can do it, I'll send you an email and you know I did it.
My new favorite person.
And I just sent you one. So anyway, all right. So Miss Holmes, just gonna call me when you got them all in the queue.
Yes, Judge.